All right, so let's go ahead and get started. What's our first word here? All right, so we have a tav, right? It's going to make a T sound, and it's pointed with kamatz. Short duration A, so we have ta. Then we have aleph, silent letter, but it's pointed katef patak, right? So it's going to sound just like this, just a short A sound. So we have ta-a. Then we have a wa, and it's pointed patak with a tav behind it. So since it's pointed patak, that's giving us our vowel sound, right? We got to have the consonant sound. Yo. I got to see what it looks like. Let me see what they got. Hold on. Got to raise it up some. We'll see where it can go. Is that better? Okay, cool. All right. So, like I said, since we have a vowel sound here, we're going to have to use the consonant sound, which we know for the wa is a V sound, right? So that gives us ta-avat. Ta-avat. All right. Ta'avat. All right, what about our next word here? Anavim. All right, so we have ayin, silent letter, but it's pointed katef patak, so that's a short A sound. Ah. Then we have a nun, pointed kamatz. N-ah. Anna, anna. Then we have another wa, and it's pointed how? Kirik yod, so there's our vowel point. So what do we have to do with this wa? Got to use it as a consonant, right? Got to be a consonant sound, so a V sound. So v, e, and then mem sofit, vim. So we have anavim. Anavim. All right, what's our next word here? All right. All right. So we have a sheen, right? And it's pointed kamatz, gives us what sound? Sha. So we have a mem here, and it's pointed how? With patak. Then what's our next letter we have? Ayin. It's a silent letter, right? So it's just going to extend this A sound. Ma. All right? So shama. Then we have another tav, and it's pointed with kamatz. How do we pronounce that? Ta. All right? So shamata. All right? Because remember, if this was vocal, it would sound like an E. So shamata. All right, shamata. All right, what's this next word? Yud, hey, wah, hey, right? It's the Father's name. All right, so we have the Father's name. What's our next word we have here? All right, so how are we going to pronounce that? All right, we have a tav, T sound here, pointed kamatz, right? So ta. Then we have a kaf, pointed kirik yod with what? Nun sofit, right? Kin. All right, so tachin. Tachin. All right, tachin. All right, what about the next word here? All right, libam. We have a lamed, pointed kirik, li. Then we have the letter bait, right? The letter bait. Are we going to double it? We can, because it's following another vowel point, right? So we're going to double this. So we do that how? Easiest way, draw a dotted line. We know we need a B sound on both sides, right? So this goes from being li to lib, right? Then we pick up the second B sound and the kamats with the mem sofit, bam. So libam, libam of Gilead. Libam. All right. What about down here? What do we got? All right. We have the tav here, and it's pointed with patak, right? Short duration. So ta. Then we have the kuf, and it's pointed how? Silent shva. Silent shva does what? Closes a syllable. So our syllable is tak, right? Tak. Then the letter sheen, indicators on the right-hand side, right? So that makes it SH sound, right? Followed kirik yod with a veit, shiv. So takshiv. Takshiv. All right, what's our last word here? Okay. So, let me ask you a question. What type of syllable is this first syllable? Well, what this shva? What kind of shva is this? Okay. So we think that is vocal, but it is not. Now, I have this ah sound here, right? And then I have this z, the z sound, right? Is that z sound, is that leaving us an open syllable or a closed syllable? It's closed because it's a consonant sound, right? So, where are most of our words in Hebrew? Where are they mostly stressed at? Where's the emphasis at? On the end. And this meteg is telling us what? So stress it there. So for this first syllable, we have a closed, unaccented syllable. So that is not an A sound. That is an O sound. You've just got some sort of mental block with it. It's all right. So this is not an A sound. This is an O sound. So that means that this zayin has a silent shva underneath it. Okay? O's. And then we have this nun, and it's pointed how? Segol, right? Short duration E type vowel. So n, eh. Then we have chav sofit pointed kamatz. Cha, right? So the word is oznecha. All right? Oz necha. All right? So let's read it together. We transliterated it. Let's read it together. We have Ta'avat anavim shamata yawa, tachin libam takshiv oznecha. One more time. Ta'avat anavim shamata yawa, tachin libam takshiv oznecha. Okay, ta'avat. I guarantee you we have never ever had this word before. No, we've never had this particular word before. So ta'avat, ta'ava. If we had ta'ava, we know that is what? Because of the sound, the ah on the end of it, it's a verb. All right. So ta'ava means to long for something, to want something, to desire it. Okay? So um it could be, yeah, it's because, and it's kind of an obtuse concept. So it's something that, who are the anavim? We know that this is a plural, right? Because of the im on the end. So what does anav mean? Anav is a type of person, a type of people. All right. Anav means to be humble. So anavim is what? The humble or humble people or humble ones, right? So ta'avat, like I said, ta'ava means to desire something, to long for it, to yearn for it. So this is something that they've been doing for a while. So yes, in that case, it could be past tense because they've been doing it. Does that make sense? It's something that they've been doing. So what I'm going to put up here is, in parentheses, I'm going to put the word the, and then I'm going to say longing, and then in parentheses again, of who? The humble ones. What about shamata? What's our root word? Okay, so what's shama mean? To hear, right? So shamata. So we have an action because of the ah sound, but look at what's the letter we have back here. It's a tav, so it's past tense, right? So what is it saying? You have heard. Yes, yes. The longing of the humble ones, you have heard, comma. Who heard it? Yahweh did, right? You have heard, Yahweh. Boom. All right? Close that thought. So we know the psalmist is saying that Yahweh has heard the desires or the longing, the yearning of those who are humble before him. Does that make sense? What he's saying. You've heard it. So what about the word takin? So what's our root word? Kun. Now here it's conjugated into keen, but the root word is kun, which means what? To establish or set up. Very good. I'm glad somebody has remembered it. Thank you. All right. So this tav is in the beginning. So that's telling us what? All right. You will. Okay. You will. All right. So you've heard their longing. You've heard what their desires are. So you will set up or establish or even prepare. Because they got something that they want, but they don't have it yet. So what's he got to do? Got to get them ready for it, right? A lot of times that's why we go through the things that we do. Because he's got something for us, but we're not ready for it yet. So he has to put us through some stuff to get us to that point. When we pass that test, then he's like, okay, cool. Now you can have this thing. Right? So you will set up or establish what? Their hearts, because the people are who? The anavim, the humble ones, okay? So what he's saying is, well, the again, is people, but who are the people we're talking about? These ones here, right? So you will prepare their hearts, because we know that the word lavav, right, or the shortened form lev, means heart, all right? So you will set up, or you will prepare, you will establish their hearts. What about takshiv? Okay, so what's our root word? It's kashav. Kashav is the root word. Kashav means, that's another word that means to hear, but it means like to get someone's attention. It literally translates out to like to prick up the ears. Like, you know, like how your dog, you make it, you know what I mean? That's what kashav means, all right? So the Father has heard them. He's going to establish their hearts. He's going to prepare them for it, right? All right, so takshiv, you will hear them, right? You will hear them. What about oznecha? What's the cha on the end? Cha. Your. Cha. Your. So what's that leave us for a root word? Ozen. Ozen. So the word ozen means an ear. Okay? So, how would we pronounce, or how would we translate oznecha? With your, and we can say ears here, because that makes more sense than just with one ear, right? He hears them with both ears. So, what it's saying here is that the longing or the desires of the humble, of his humble ones, right? Those that fear him, those that are humble before him, Yahweh's heard. He's heard the desires of those who are humble before him. All right? He's also going to prepare their hearts for what's coming, right? And why are they getting it? A, because they're humble. B, because they asked for it, right? It's their desire, right? It says the reason why they're getting it is because he's heard them. He hears them with his ears. So a lot of times this is why murmuring and complaining is so bad, because we may say something and we think, he ain't going to hear what I say, you know what I mean? He ain't hearing me. But that's what it says, right? In the scriptures, all the people talking about, he doesn't care. He's forsaken the earth. He's not listening. But he hears everything. Everything. Right? So it's telling us the reason why is because, A, they're humble. Right? And they've asked for it. It's what they want. It's the hearts. It's the desire of their heart. But he's going to get them ready for it because he's heard them. So, again, it makes us, sometimes it said, be careful what you wish for because you just may get it, right? So, it's like when we told the Father, hey, we want to understand more. Well, guess what he did to us? Put us in a position to where we're at right now, right? And we're looked down on by everybody. And so anyway, this is Psalm number 10 and 17. Yahweh, you've heard the desire of the humble. You will prepare their heart. You will cause your ear to hear. But it's weird. He doesn't have to make himself hear something. So again, you're going to pay attention. You hear what they say. Okay? 10 and 17. Any questions? Mm-mm. No. Listening, you know. Nah, you be all right. You be all right, brother. Okay, so let's get started on our second sentence here. All right, so what's our first word? Bayawa, right? We have a bait, pointed patach, and then yud hey wah hey. Yawa. All right, bayawa. What's our next word here? All right, so we have a tav, pointed kidik, with another tav behind it. Tit. But this is a silent shva because we're following a short duration vowel point. So tit, boom, cut it off. We have a hey here, pointed patach, ha. Then we have this lamed with a dagesh inside. So we're going to double it, right? So instead of ha, this becomes hal. Then we pick up the second L and the sere, and then this final lamed right here. L, el, lel. So tit halel. Tit halel. All right, what about the next word? Nafshi, right. We have a nun, and it's pointed patak, short duration A, na. Then we have what letter here? Fe, right? And it's pointed how? Silent shva. Close the syllable. Naf. N-A-P-H. Naf. Then we have the letter sheen, indicators on the right-hand side. It's pointed kirikyo. Sh, e, she, nafshi. Nafshi. All right, what about our next word? All right, yud, right? Pointed kirik, yi. Then we have the letter shin, but we've got two shvas here. So when we have two shvas next to each other, the first one is always silent, the second one is always vocal. So that makes this yish, cut the syllable. Yish. Then we have the mem, so we have the M sound, and then we have the vocal shva, quick E, meh. Now we have ayin, silent letter, right? So we're just going to carry this meh. And then we have this wa pointed shuruk, but we've got to have a consonant sound. So we're going to use the V sound, right? Because that's coming from the wa. So yish mevu. Yish mevu. Yish mevu. Yish mevu. All right, what about our next word here? Anavim, right? So we've got ayin, silent letter pointed katef patak, ah. Then we've got a nun pointed kamatz, na. And we've got a wa pointed kiri kyod with mem so feet, v, im, vim, anavim. All right, and what about our last word here? All right, we have a wa with a vocal shva because we're at the beginning of a word. So we've got to use the V sound here too. So we have ve. Then we have the yud pointed kirik, yi. Then we have what letter? Sin. Indicators on the left-hand side, so we got to pronounce it as an S now. All right? And we're following what kind of duration vowel point? All right? Kirik is short, so that's a closed or silent shva. So we have veyis. Veyis. Now we have a mem, and it's pointed how? We know it's kamas because this line right here is telling us that's an A. So we have ma, Then we have the letter chet, followed by a wa pointed shuruk. Hu. So we have veyis machu. Veyismachu. Veyismachu. Your meteg is here in the middle, so we need to stress that syllable. All right? Veyismachu. All right? Veyismachu. Veyismachu. All right, so we have transliterated our sentence. So let's read it together. We have Bayawa tithalel nafshi yismevu anavim vayismachu. Let's do it again. Bayawa tithalel nafshi yismevu anavim vayismachu. All right, Bayawa. In Yahweh, right? Ba prefix means in, right? So Bayawa. In Yahweh. In Yahweh, comma, tit halel. Okay, so what type of biblical, or what kind of Hebrew are we looking at? We're looking at biblical Hebrew, right? So the tav had a use in biblical Hebrew that it does not in modern Hebrew. Okay? So in biblical Hebrew, the tav did tense. However, it also was a precursor for a feminine gender. Okay? So in this case, Titalel, she will Hallel. Okay? She will, well, Hallel means, it can mean to rejoice, it can mean to celebrate, it can mean to show out, it can mean to draw attention to one's, so it can mean to boast, you know what I mean, to make a claim. So in Yahweh, we're going to put she will do what? Let's since the King James uses it, let's just use it here too. She will boast. All right? Not she's not going to boast for herself. She's going to boast in Yahweh, right? So give him the glory for it. So who's the she that we're talking about? My soul. Nafshi, my soul. The soul is seen to be female, right? Because it's active. It's fiery, right? It's the part that it's what keeps you going, all right? So nafshi, right, comes from the root word nefesh, and then the E on the end, mind, nefesh, soul, my soul, all right? So in Yahweh, my soul, she's going to boast, right? She's going to give praise and give thanks, right? All right? In Yahweh, she will boast. She'll make a show. She's going to celebrate, right? My soul. And then we're going to put a colon here. We're going to stop that thought right there, okay? So if we were to say it in English, we would say, my soul will boast in Yahweh, right? Or my soul will celebrate because of Yahweh. Things like, it all comes back to the same thing. What about Yishmevu? We have a prefix here? Just will. Just will. It's an implied masculinity, but okay. Will. What else do we have here? Any suffixes? The wa. So what's that mean? What's that suffix mean? They. They will. So what's our root word? Shema. So they will what? They will hear. They will hear. Who's going to hear? The Anavim, right? All right, so the humble ones are going to hear, right? They're going to hear, and then what's going to happen? And they will. Now with a word like samach. Samach. We say chag sameach. That's the root word. So what does samach mean? To be joyful, to rejoice, to enjoy oneself, right? So they're going to hear, these humble ones, right? They're going to hear, and what's going to happen? And they will rejoice. Do you see how that works, brother? And, right? The wa, and, the u at the end, they. It's actually, and will rejoice they. So we have to jump around, and because our grammar is different. It's set up differently. So you've got, like I said, when we translate these words, we do jump around just to try and make it make sense to us. But if we were to do it straight across, the wa, and, the yud, will, samach, right? Rejoice, and then the u at the end, they. So, and they will rejoice, which makes sense because these guys, the Anavim, they're going to do what? They're going to hear. What are they hearing? They're hearing the psalmist boast in Yahweh. And since they are the humble ones, since they are pious, since they're going to rejoice because he's giving the Father praise. Does this make sense? Okay? So since, that's what I'm saying, his soul is going to boast, it's going to rejoice, it's going to celebrate, it's going to revel in Yahweh. Yahweh was so good, he did this, he did that, he kept us safe on the road for hours and hours and hours when we didn't know where we were going. Yeah, he did all these things and brought us home safely. He's done this, he's done that, he's put food on your table, he's, paid your bill for you, he's done all this stuff. So when you give him praise for that, those who are obedient, those who are humble, and they're going to hear that. And what are they going to do? They're going to rejoice with you, right? They're going to bless the Father for the wonderful things that he's done for you. And that's what we're supposed to do for each other, right? Something goes great for you, brother. Something happens good for you. And I'm supposed to join you in that rejoicing because he's treated you good. We're supposed to do that for each other, right? So, and they will rejoice. All right. That is Psalm 34 and 2. And the King James says, my soul shall make her boast in Yahweh, and the humble shall hear thereof and be glad. That somehow kind of loses some of the punch, doesn't it? Just sounds a little kind of wishy-washy, That don't sound as good as what we did, the way we got it. I like ours better. I think ours is much more dynamic, much more exciting. So, if we hear that the Father does something good for a brother or sister, don't get the rocks in your jaws, right? Be happy. Rejoice with them. Be excited for them. I like them myself. All right, so let's take a look at this paleo word that we've got here. It's a pretty good one. All right, so what's our first letter that we have here? That's the letter Sheen, right? What about this second one? That's a Chet. And what's this last one we have here? That's a Hey, right? So let's give us some, we can't pronounce all of those, so let's get us some verb or some vowels in there. Drop a couple of A's in there, and that gives us what word? Shacha. Shacha. So what does shacha mean? The word shacha means to bow down. Shacha. Okay? Shacha, to bow down. How'd you know that? Oh, so you cheated, huh? Oh no, I thought she told me what the word meant, what the paleo word said. So see, she did. She cheated. She cheated from the rest of the class. Anyway, the word shacha. Shacha means to bow down. Okay? Means to bow down. So the thing is, what's one of the very first things that we see with Avram in our parsha today? The messengers come, and isn't it interesting that it says Yahweh came, right? So we know that it wasn't the Father, right? Because if it had been, the earth would have just imploded at that time. So it wasn't Yahweh the Father, it was pre-incarnate Yahushua, right? So it was Yahushua in a much stepped down form coming to visit the man who was a friend to Yahweh, right? Scriptures call Abraham a friend to Yahweh. So it says that when he saw those guys, he knew there was something different about them, right? And he immediately bowed down to him. So I was gonna say, well, not only that, but how old was he too? He was 100 years old. You know what I'm saying? So what we see here is at the very beginning of our parsha, we see that Abram, right? I think he was still Abram at that time, wasn't he? He hadn't been Abraham yet. But he basically throws himself down at the feet of these guys, these three guys that he sees, and begs them, don't move on. Sit here, get you a little bite to eat. Let's wash your feet, refresh you a little bit. Here he goes out and he goes and gets a calf, dresses it for him. And he's 3 days before he'd just been circumcised. And he's 100 years old. Or almost, he's 99 at this time, but still. So he runs out there and he knew that there was something incredibly special about it. Right? Because what did he say? If I found favor. How many times have we heard that in the scriptures? And it's always said, when it's said like that, it's always said to a powerful person, to a special person. You know, if I found favor in your sight, then let me do this. All right, but he knew that there was something special about them. So we get a lot of practice here, right? So when we say blessed or baruch, right, we bow our heads, right? We bend the knee, the word barach, to bend the knee, right? So it's just like if you were to come before an earthly king and they sounded a trumpet or whatever they did in their culture to let you know, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to show reverence, right? You're supposed to bow. You're supposed to honor that person, okay? So if we were to come into the presence of actual royalty, then we would show our respect by bowing before them. And that's what this word shows us. It shows us that it's actually proper to do. Okay? So let's take a look. What is the sheen? It's the teeth, right? But it also shows us about what? Wisdom. All right. So what about the chet? What is the chet? It's a separation, it's a boundary, right? It's a ladder going up and going down, right? So we've got this wisdom. So the opposite of going up is going down, right? To lessen. Not O-N, but E-N. All right? To lessen. To become less than what one was. All right? And then we have the hay. And the hay is what? It's the ruach. It's the soul, right? It's oneself. All right? So what it's telling us is that in this manner, all right, this word shows us what is proper to do in the sight of royalty. So if we bow before an earthly king, how much more should we bow before the heavenly king? Amen? That makes sense? All right. So what did, and we see these types of examples. For example, just take this one off the top of my head. What about Yochanan the Immerser, right? John the Baptist. What did he say? He said, I must decrease that he might increase, right? How many times have we seen the psalmists, the prophets, other disciples, even Yahushua himself, scriptures say he was made a little lower, right? Why? For the crowning of death, right? He couldn't have been our perfect sacrifice in his glorified, if he couldn't die, how could he have been our sacrifice? Okay? So this is talking about what we do. Where did the decree for him to die come from? From his father. Right? A son honors his father, and a servant his master, right? So here's the thing. And I'm going to wrap this up real quick. Try to, before sun goes all the way down. But what this word is telling us is that when it comes to our dealings with the Father, especially with him, when it comes to our dealings with our King, there's a lot of wisdom in lessening ourselves. Well, what did Lot say? Or wasn't Lot? What did Job say? What did he say? I cause the widow's hearts to sing, and I do this, and I washed my steps with oil, and which I think would make a big mess. But and bring. Do you want ants? Because that's how you get ants, right? So, but I mean, I did this, and when I stood up, the old men covered their mouths, and the princes did me. That's not how you deal with him. You don't deal with an earthly king that way. You sure don't deal with him that way. So what we do, no matter what we think of ourselves, the wisdom here is to take the low road, to lessen ourselves. Talk a whole lot less about yourself and more about him, right? Be more concerned about what he wants rather than what you want. Right? So what it really serves to tell us is that humility and the low road, that's what he wants out of his service. Right? When you're puffed up and full of yourself, are you any good to him? No. You're not. So like I said, when we deal with the king of the universe, we need to know our place and kind of knock ourselves down a few notches so that he don't have to do it. It's a lot easier for us to do that for ourselves. It's a lot less painful if we do that than to have him do it. Wouldn't y'all agree? I don't want you don't want the Father knocking you down. Better just to kind of get out of the way. One more thing about this that really ties in, that this word not only means to bow, but it also means to prostrate oneself. So I mean, go flat on the floor, right on your face. You know, your face on the floor, your hands completely in the lowest position. You can't go no lower than that. And when we deal with him, that's what we got to remember. That's one thing that used to bother me in the church a lot. They would be down there praying for people, with people and stuff, and basically commanding the Father to do something, or trying to command the Ruach to do something. He's not a puppet on a string. You can't command the Father to do anything. You can remind him, Father, you said that you'd do this, and that's perfectly, but you can't command the Father to do something. And I can't tell, how many times did we hear people literally command the, oh, God, you have to do that. No, he don't have to do anything he don't want to do. He's sovereign, right? That means he makes the rules, not you. So anyway, like I said, there's great wisdom in knowing our place, especially when we're dealing with him. Is she still in the room? Okay. So, Anna Bernice, Rebison just reminded me of this. If you're in the room, if you would like to start getting these messages as well, these Hebrew lessons as well, Sister Ladina's getting them. If you'd like to get them as well, make sure that I get your email address, and on Shabbat mornings I will be happy to add you to the list and get these sent to you as well. They always come kind of late morning, so between 10 and 11:30. So anyway, I'll be happy to put you on the list as well if you'll just make sure that you get me your email address, okay? You can just put it in the chat or give it to Sister Gabriella, and she'll make sure that I get it. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and finish it off. I just wanted to talk about this word because a lot of times we don't realize how humble Abraham actually was, And what's weird is when scriptures talk about how Moses was the meekest man ever. So if we've got humility like this and faith like this, how much more did Moses have?